Hello again, my name's John. I'm a retired cook from the northeast of England in the UK, and welcome to another one of my video recipes. And in this very special recipe I'll show you how to make this amazing homemade canned style corned beef. This homemade and home cured corned beef is much more superior in taste, texture and overall quality than anything you can buy in a tin. So sit back and enjoy this fascinating process of transforming raw beef brisket into a delicious canned style corned beef. You can see the ingredients list and full written method for this recipe on the recipe page on the channel's website. And the link to that page and lots more is in the description box under the video. Just find and click on the word more, and that'll give you access to all the relative links for this video, including our website store products. Okay, let's get on with today's recipe. For this recipe I'll be using this half brisket, but you can use any cheap cut of beef as long as it has a good portion of fat in it. I actually got this one at half price from my local wholesaler, and it only cost me 10 quid, so keep your eyes open for bargains. Using a sharp knife, cut the joint into fairly large chunks as shown. The beauty about this recipe is there's no waste at all. Everything goes in. You actually need a good portion of fat, so don't be tempted to trim any off. Even this thick layer, get it all in. Right, that's all the meat cut. Time to make up the curing ingredients, and this recipe is known as dry curing. Start by measuring the salt, which is 3% of the meat weight, so you need 60 grams, that's 2.1 ounces. And try to use a pure salt, as ordinary table salt contains a lot of additives, including iodine and anti-caking agents. And for the curing salt I use Prague powder number 2. And try to measure this carefully. Percentage wise it's only 0.2% of the whole meat weight, and that works out of 5.4 grams, or 1 level teaspoon is enough. Now give those a good mix together. Right, sprinkle the curing mixture over the meat. Once it's all in, get your gloves on and spend a couple of minutes giving this a good mix. Make sure each piece has a coating of the salt. I also like to chuck a few bay leaves in too. And I can hear you saying in the comments, why do we cure meat? And it's a good question, so I'll leave a brief explanation in the description box below the video. Once you're happy with the mix, get the meat into a strong freezer bag and securely tie it off. Try to get as much air out of the bag as you can. I like to get it into another bag too. It's just belt and braces in case of any leaks. Once it's all bagged and tagged, get it into the fridge and let it cure for 3 days. All you have to do now is give the bag a quick massage every day, and that's just to make sure everything is coated and curing evenly. Alright, it's been curing now for 3 days and it's time for the next stage. So open the bags and get it into a bowl. What I do now is give the meat a good rinse in cold water. This will get rid of any excess salt and nitrates from the outside of the meat chunks. And that means I can safely use the beef stock that's produced after the meat's cooked for other recipes. And the next step is to cook the beef by slow boiling. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can get it into a large pot on the stove and simmer it for about 2.5 hours. You can do it in a large slow cooker, but that'll take a lot longer. But by far the best way to cook it is in a pressure cooker. Not only is this quicker, it locks in all the flavour too. Okay, I'll get the meat into the instant pot. The meat looks a bit dull and drab at the moment, but once it's cooked it'll become a vibrant, bright, appetising red colour. I'll chuck in the bay leaves that I used in the curing bag. Next I'll fill it up with hot water from the kettle level with the top of the meat. Give it a quick stir. Now I'll get the lid on. And that's the meat ready to cook. so I'll set the timer for 1 hour and 20 minutes. Right, those beeps means it's on. Once it gets up to temperature and the pressure builds up, in a few moments it'll start to count down. And there it goes. Once the time's up, I'll let it self-depressurise for a further 30 minutes, making a total cooking time of 1 hour and 50 minutes. And I'll see you again when the time's up and the meat's cooked. And while that meat's cooking in the pressure cooker, I hope you don't mind if I give my 4 recipe books a very quick shout out. The books have lots of our favourite recipes from our work kitchens in them. And also book 4 in this series is totally dedicated to bread recipes. And with Christmas just around the corner, these will make someone a wonderful present. So get your orders in early. Right, that's the 1 hour 20 minutes done, and the heating element in the pressure cooker is now off. And now I'll leave it to slowly self-depressurise over the next 30 minutes. And there you go, it's done, and the total cooking time in the pressure cooker was only 1 hour and 50 minutes. And whatever pressure is left in there I can manually release now. And there you go, it's now safe to release the lid. And all of the flavour has been locked away in this cooker. Even the aroma when it's cooking is barely noticeable. And by the way, I'm not being sponsored by this company, but if they're listening, I am open to offers. Okay, using a slotted spoon, I'll start transferring the meat to a deep baking tray. And it's perfectly fine if a bit of the meat juices comes over with the meat. Remove the bay leaves as you go. And as you can see, the meat is now nice and red. And I can now pass the meat juices through a fine sieve. And you can add the sieved bits to the tray too. Next step, using a couple of forks I can start to pull or shred the meat. And this should be very easy to do as the meat is now incredibly tender. Keep going until the whole lot is pulled apart. And when the meat's at this stage, I like to pinch a little and make myself a hot pulled beef and red onion sandwich in one of my crispy sourdough rolls. Absolutely irresistible. A chef's perk. And back to the recipe. Before going any further, you can make up the setting mixture. That's 150 ml of hot water mixed with 150 ml of the hot meat juices. And I'm dissolving 2 gelatin sheets in the hot liquid. You can also use a teaspoon of gelatin granules if you prefer. Give that a good mix to make sure the gelatin has completely dissolved. Right, only one small process left to do, and that is to run all of the pulled meat through a food processor with the metal blades attached. Do this stage in a few batches. I managed to process the whole lot in 4 passes. Don't over-process it. About 10 seconds for each batch. And that's what it should look like after about 10 seconds of processing. And once you've done each batch, transfer it to a large bowl as shown. Right, I'll just let you watch while I finish this process off. And a very quick mention to the channel's Patreon members and supporters. I'll be giving the latest list a shout out a little later in the video. You'll also need a container to put the meat in. I'm giving mine a thin coat of olive oil, and that'll help it release from the container after it's been chilled. Almost done. All I've got to do now is to add the setting stock. But it looks like this bowl is a bit on the small size for mixing it in. So, as Chief Brody once famously said, we're going to need a bigger bowl. And that's much better to get my hands in. Now pour in the stock and with gloved hands give it a good mix. Just make sure all of the meat is now moist with the stock. It only took about 40 seconds in real time to do this mixing. Right, and that's the process finally finished. And that's quite a bit of the very best quality corned beef that you'll ever taste. I'll give you the exact total weight a little later. Now get it into your prepared container. Gently compact it as you go. And once it's all in, level it off. Now place a small piece of cling film directly onto the meat. Get the lid on and get it into the fridge for at least 12 hours before slicing it. Okay, it's the next day and this one's been chilling now for 24 hours. So, time to see how we did. Remove the cling film, twist the container a little just to loosen it off. Then turn it out onto your bench. And it's looking wonderful. And the first job, I'll get it onto the scales. And it's a staggering 1.424 kilograms. And that's around £3 3 ounces of pure top quality canned style corned beef. Right, I'll cut a couple of slices off. And it's slicing beautifully. It's holding together but slightly crumbly. Absolutely perfect. And if you wouldn't mind guys, if you found the video useful and enjoyable, can you give the video a like by hitting the thumbs up? It really helps the channel tremendously. Okay, a quick taste. That is absolutely gorgeous. Slightly salty, the texture is spot on and bursting with flavour. Ideal for all sorts of applications. But this corned beef can be used in lots of recipes. Check out my last video where I used it to make this stunning corned beef and potato pie. The link to that video will be in the description. And that's it, a fantastic, fascinating process deserving a huge thumbs up guys. And as mentioned earlier in the video, here is the latest list of my Patreon, PayPal and Super Thank You button supporters. And they are Michael Carg, Jenny, Darrell Elder 1352, Jens K 3250 and Shirley Stewart. And there's also one who wishes to remain anonymous. Thanks very much guys, I really do appreciate all that you do in supporting the channel. Well, thank you again for watching. Please like, share, comment and subscribe by hitting the circle above. If you do subscribe, activate the bell icon next to the subscribe button on my channel page. And by doing that, you'll be automatically notified every time I upload a new video. And in the meantime, here's a few of my other videos and playlists that you may want to watch. So, until the next time, be safe in your kitchen and bye for now.